Two of the world's best StarCraft 2 players have met once again in the finals. This particular finals is the ESL Open Cup, I think number 235 for the North American server. And of course that means it's a match between some of my favorite North Americans. First off, from the beautiful state of South Korea, in the upper right corner of map number 1, we have none other than Dark. And his opponent from France, playing with the blue SCVs, lacking a polar bear. Oh, where's the polar bear? It's Clem. Where did Clem's polar bear go? I don't like this. For some reason, he's decided to untick the box of the polar bear. Although that may actually be a European server only thing, actually. Anyways, map number 1 for some reason is Dynasty. I'm a little surprised that we're gonna see this as the very first map of the series, because this map is pretty terrible for Zerg in particular. Last time I had a look at the win-loss ratios at the professional level. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and have a look right now. Dynasty Liquipedia. They keep track of all of the tournament games that are being played on this map, and they will be able to give me the win-loss ratio. Yeah, so 76.5% of the games played at the tournament level on this map go in favor of the Terran. So I'm very surprised that in a best-of-5 series, Dark did not veto it. And I guess upon not vetoing it, well, Clem immediately decided to pick it as the first map in this series. It's of course the map, by the way, with the golden wall over here. You have a rich Vespian geyser on the right side. Well, at least in this spawn location. Obviously, Zerg has it mirrored in the opposite side of the map. I think this means that Dark has got something cheeky in mind. There is pretty much no way that Dark is going to just relax and sit back and do everything like he is supposed to, right? As we all know, Dark recently got that dad buff. Ever since he became a dad, he seems to have powered up. Everybody always tells me that when you have children, you don't really have time anymore. But apparently for Dark, maybe he's found purpose or something. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. But he has been playing really, really well. Recently, of course, winning the GSL Codes. Just as a small little example. The most prestigious tournament over in Korea. And that was, I think, what he said was like 2 months or so. Maybe 3 months after his kid was born. Anyways, this time around, his opponent is another Terran player. It's not Maru in the finals, but this is, of course, Mr. Clem. Clem plays a little bit differently than, well, for example, Maru, generally speaking, more aggressive. But there's no denying that usually Clem also struggles a bit more against the Korean players, especially when you're forced to play, in this particular instance, on the North American server. Thing is, Clem usually plays very micro-heavy, and in order to micro really well, 200 ping or so, maybe 150, depending on what server you play on, is a little bit annoying, right? When you're trying to split up your Marines, for example, against Banelings, turns out having just, 0.15 seconds or so of delay on every single one of your actions is significant. So we'll see. We'll see how this ends up going. I think, generally speaking, I do think Clem is a little bit better, but it's really hard to say. Like, Dark is such a hit-or-miss player. Sometimes he looks like the best player in the world, and then the next tournament, he just plays like a bit of a donkey. It's hard to say exactly what to expect from Dark, but sometimes he's also memeing around a little bit, you know, whenever he's playing a smaller online cup. So for this one, I think there's a couple $100 on the line in total. He doesn't really care as much, I guess. Whereas if there's, well, a much larger prize pool, like for the GSL Codes, I think this time around it was like maybe 5,000 or so for the first place prize. Maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, he seems to take things a little bit more seriously. He certainly trolls quite a bit. Like a lot of pro gamers, for example, whenever there's a premier event coming up, and right now that would be the World Cup, $1 million on the line. Both Clem and Dark are obviously qualified for this event because the guys are ridiculously good. A lot of players would choose to not sign up for any of these events anymore because they want to hide their strategies. Dark just does whatever. Oh. Like, for example, like, what's this? Why did... There's 5 drones misrallied onto a mineral field. That is just... It's one of those sloppy plays that you'd imagine at some point you get punished for, but Dark consistently gets away with it. Slow reaction right there on the queens. So a few of the drones end up going down. It's, by the way, a pretty normal opener here. Clem does decide to go for triple Rex now. Third command center, though, is already done. He's not going to be opting to go for any sort of benchy play. It's just going to be Hellions straight into a bunch of Marines, Medivacs, and then, of course, some siege tanks. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, it looks like we are skipping all of the tech for now. No Roach Warren, no Baneling Nests, no Evo Chambers. Straight lair right here for the Zerg. I sometimes get this vibe that Dark, while he's playing these games, is just like in a voice chat call. Like, I picture this as like a Discord group channel with a bunch of the Korean pro gamers and they're just, you know, trash talking each other the entire time. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting whenever I see Dark playing in some of these tournaments, where he makes decisions that he just never makes whenever there's a lot of money on the line. Anyways, there's the Baneling Nest. It is mistimed here with that lair. He cannot quite go for the Baneling speed immediately, but he's just simply macroing up, trying to stay alive. This does mean that there's quite a bit of potential, though, for Clem to potentially punish this, because a lot of the early game defense here for the Zerg will lean into having Baneling speed. You need to have that Baneling speed upgrade done. Or maybe if Terran, you know, miss micros, which can happen, of course. Or I guess if your creep spread is really good, you can get away with some of it too, but it is really quite difficult. This is a pivotal upgrade for the Zerg, and we're still about a minute and a half or so away from that upgrade finishing. Obviously, though, Clem, he doesn't know, right? So Clem doesn't realize what's going on here. He hasn't seen the exact timings of any of these things. So I guess what happens quite a bit as well is that players will give him the benefit of the doubt, right? They will just assume that all the timings are quote-unquote correct. Anyways, 4th hatchery here gets scouted. It looks like Clem is just gonna power straight up to barracks 6, 7, and 8. So this is, in my mind, the Oliveira game plan. Most recently, in one of the big tournaments, we had Oliveira going up against Serral. Those were the only games that Serral dropped the entire tournament long. I saw a lot of people wondering why Clem usually doesn't play these strategies. Well, here we go. He is apparently going 3 base, 8 barracks, and just a stupid amount of units. That's the plan. Let's see. Dark really doesn't have that many drones. He really doesn't have that much creep spread either. He will have Baneling speed done right now. Link's trying to go around the side. Hellions distracting this army for quite a bit. Marines are running as far as possible. Siege tanks will get cleaned up. One of the medevacs got shot at as well by those Marines. One of the queens decided to end the job. Do we have more follow-up Banelings? I only see about 1. And that means that Clem can start microing his heart out if he wants to. But again, he decides to take this easy. He knows he's producing a lot of units right now, with these additional add-ons finishing up. Hive coming right now for Dark. If he can get up to Ultras, that would be amazing. But we are still a long way away from that. This is usually not a style for Terran that transitions towards Ghosts, or even a 4th command center necessarily. Now, Clem is getting one of those, but he's prioritizing unit production. Clem, hello? Okay. Clem's sleeping on the job a little bit as well. Now he finally locks the front door. Luckily, though, there are Terran reinforcements rather spawning out of those barracks, so we'll be able to clean this up relatively easily. He probably had his eyes set on the other side. Queen's moving pretty far forward. They will be able to finish off the medevac. At the same time, Dark trying to set up a surround from the left side, but excellent control right there by the French Terran. And just like that, the Zerg army gets cleaned up once again. Slowly but surely, Dark's bleeding out. He starts up 2-2 right now because he knows he's gonna need it. Terran's going into 2-2, but he honestly can't afford it at this point. More Banelings get killed. GG is cold. Just like that, it's Clem who wins game number 1. Really? So game number 2 is on Amphion? Usually the way that these tournaments are done is players will veto maps and then they will take, well, turns deciding what maps they want to play on. Map number 1 was definitely chosen by Clem. Map number 2 must then be chosen by Dark, but this is also not an amazing map for Zerg. Although, to be fair, I guess most of the maps right now are a little bit Terran favored, it seems. At least looking at the statistics. A lot of Zerg players will complain, Protoss players will complain that in a best of 3 or a best of 5, they pretty much always have to play at least a couple of Terran maps. Curious to see Amphion here as game number 2. Anyways, this is another reason, I guess, right? Like, at least a potential reason as to why we may see some unorthodox map choices. Again, big tournament coming up. A lot of players will choose not to play any of the smaller online cups. Like, you're not gonna really find Serral playing any of these cups right now. No chance. Maru? No way. He's gonna be hiding all of his strats. I guess if you know you may be facing each other in a big premier tournament that's coming up, maybe just get the maps that you would never play first in tournaments like that out of the way in these events instead? Because at the very least it will feel a little bit different. If you're gonna play Oceanborn, Side Delta, and then Alcyone every single time, I mean, maybe it might be a little bit too predictable. I'm hoping, by the way, that after the World Cup we will get another fresh new map pool. I would be down with having 9 maps, like 9 fresh maps. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it would be kind of sick. I'm fairly sure there are still maps that are from the Team Liquid map contest that have not been used, that are recent and should work. But anyways. Dark is gonna go and attempt to get the third base going. There is an alternative third base over here on the left side. Problem is that usually Terrans will head on over towards that side of the map as well in a moment, and Dark would prefer expanding away from the Terran. This means, though, that the Reaper should be able to intercept this and snipe that drone easy peasy. At the very least, delay that expansion some more. Clem just trying to be a nuisance here. It's the dance for the third. Ultimately, he will get it. But the plan is just not at the time that the Zerg player was hoping for. Yeah. So now we will probably see 2 queens coming up. No, not quite. He's prioritizing just a whole lot of droning. Fair enough. He is going to run into some problems, though, eventually, as far as the amount of larva production goes, though. So I need a second queen does start up. That is queen 3 and 4 that are currently on production. Or in production. And normally those 300 minerals are spent on a hatchery instead. A couple of Zerglings going across the map. They will finish up link speed momentarily. There's 1 Hellion coming. Clem, we need to start up a second one right now. Okay, good. He is on point there. Mule has landed inside of the main base. No misclicking right there from Clem. He defends this easy peasy. There's a grenade thrown right there at Brenda. A little rude. But this is still opportunity. Delay the base. Right? That's essentially all he's trying to do. Just delay the base in whatever way is possible. Okay, he does eventually get it. I think my voice went a little too high there. Rising 17 octaves? It's not, no. Unnecessary excitement. Would have been nice though if he got it again. So, small amounts of losses so far, but big mental hits, more so than anything. Triple CC opener once again for Clem. This time around it's Hellion Banshee. Of course, not really expecting any real spice right here from Clem. It's not really his thing. We did, I guess, recently see Gumiho play like MASS Speed Banshee against Zerg. We also saw him playing that against Protoss. Kind of fun. But as fun a strategy as that is, it's not really Clem's cup of tea. It's not really something he would like to do. No, he's gonna be playing the normal style, what we consider to be the normal style, every single time. I see questions about that quite a bit, actually. Ooh, Mutas from Dark. Huh. Mutaling Bane? We don't have a... So he's playing 2 base Mutas now because his 3rd base was so late. Alright, interesting. I see questions about that quite frequently, though, in the YouTube comments especially, where people are like, hey, what do you mean standard? Like, what does standard even mean? Basically, there's a so-called norm. After all these years of pro gaming, people have figured out what the most optimal way to play is. So, a lot of StarCraft games of this level, at the very least, are... We do have a little bit of a Zergling run by over here. Killing some SCVs. This is really nice for Dark. Anyways, a lot of games at this level are mostly just deviations from the standard. The so-called standard is usually the type of build that allows you to get away with the maximum amount of economy without really leaving yourself vulnerable. Now, Clem has delayed that base for such a long time that he's actually making this game a little tricky for himself because he doesn't know what's going on inside of the main or the natural. He could scan, obviously, but scans are quite pricey. This could certainly be Nidus play. I would actually be a little concerned right now for Clem if the left side of the map is entirely exposed. We've seen Dark go for quite a bit of Nidus Worm play over the last couple months, but he decided, as we do have the Banshees flying in, and they actually did see the transition here, he's decided to go Mass Muta. Yeah, So this is an interesting way to play Mass Muta as well. We have +1 arrow weapons before Evos and before Baneling Nest. Meaning that Dark is gonna have Mutas and Zerglings. And then more Mutas and Zerglings. And then eventually Banelings. That means he's gonna be left open for big attacks from the Terran. And I'm a little afraid that Clem can sniff this out. Nicely defended so far by Clem though. Sometimes it's that first wave of Mutas that can really be an issue. But so far, look at him. Clem is even going pretty deep away from the natural expansion because he knows that there's no Banelings out at this point. So he doesn't really have to be too concerned. No combat shields. He does have Stimpak at this point, but that's about it. Can't really use Stim very effectively because there's no Medivacs yet. Yeah. And I think this is a pretty decent example as why we don't normally see Mutas. This is a big, dangerous play from Dark. A very committed opener by the Zerg. And he's achieved nothing with it so far. What he has achieved is... okay. Vulnerability, right? So he's not safe, again, just like the previous game, until really all 3 of these upgrades are done. Dark also positioning his Evo Chambers and his Baneling Nest right over here, in a location where Terran may just attack, just to create a bit of a wall-off against potential leftover Hellions that could run by. Basically, this is a big gamble here for Dark, and the gamble is not really paying off, but at the same time, it's not like Terran is really going to be able to punish him for it either, I don't think. Nah. Clem is gonna just go into the 2-2, go second factory, transition into Widow Mines. He does need to fire up the +2 infantry armor as well. There we go. Thank you, Clem, for making me look good. Appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, really beautiful defense here for Clem. He makes this look easy, but how many games have we seen where the Mutas just deal a bit of damage here and a bit of damage there, and then over time, suddenly they grab a mineral line? This is Clem with pretty straightforward defense so far, and these Mutas have been shut down. Now the real counters are coming up. We have Drilling Claws coming. There's a Thor producing in that same factory. The real scary attack will probably go across the map when 2-2 finishes here for Clem. In the meantime, what's going on the side of Dark? I mean, it's more Mutas. It's more Ling Bane. He's going into the +2 flyer attacks, which is fair enough. I'm assuming we're gonna go Hive, maybe? And then... we have Overlord speed here. That's a funny one, too. I'm assuming Hive into Ultras. Adrenal Glands 3-3. That's the only thing that really makes sense, but it's Dark, so we'll have to keep an eye out. And there's why the Thor is such a good unit. They have a lot of range, and with a Medivac boosting this around, those Javelin missiles can usually be shot at quite a distance. Nice catch right here by the Terran player. Trading Marines from Mutas is something, well, Terran will be quite happy with. Yeah, expertly handled here once again by Clem. So Thors deal damage, right? In a little splash area. Marines are single target. Here's that big attack I was talking about. Clem moving a little early. Before 2-2. That's because he wants to try and see if he can move into a position where he can actually create a chokehold on one of those Zerg bases. Razor sharp timing right here from Clem. Really well handled. Widow Mines, siege tanks, and then a whole lot of Marines. It is defendable though for Dark. He just needs to come in from many angles himself. Keep in mind that this is no Hive tech, so no late game transition for Dark. It should be doable for him to hold. He hasn't spent his money in any location where this isn't useful. My god, we're just going through the choke point here. He doesn't know how many Widow Mines are hiding in the tall grass, but okay. Dark just boxes all of his units together. And honestly, that could have gone 50-50 there. That could have gone horribly wrong. If there were a few Widow Mines over here behind those bits of tall grass, he couldn't see all of them. They could have been burrowed underneath some of those Terran bio units or the siege tanks. Anyways, it ended up going okay there for Dark, but another coin flip. Nice bit of target firing right here by Clem, who wants to continue fighting in this choke. Couple of changelings moving forward. Widow Mines. Yep, Thor's dealing a lot of damage. Clem halting his worker production at 69 once again. He does that for the fans. That's what I believe anyways. A little bit of an overextension here, though, by the Frenchman. Thor ends up going down. Yeah. I mean, as long as the Banelings don't connect, this should all be fine. Nice little bit of magic boxing with the Mutalisks. He actually targets down the Widow Mines to try and mitigate as much of that splash damage as possible, but my god. Ooh, Dark actually getting it done. This feels so slippery to me. There's like a sword hanging above his neck. But Dark's like, nah, this is fine. Let me make more mutas. Let me just go into more upgrades. He did go Hive as well. So Adrenal Glands is gonna be the name of the game. But no Ultras. Still a little afraid that at some point we're gonna see that sword slip. Not like Clem really has been slowed down here. I guess he doesn't have that much economy. Yeah, relatively speaking. None of these traits have been amazing for the Zerg, though. There's the Ultra Cavern. Adrenal Glands is a killer upgrade, by the way. This is about 40% attack speed for Zerglings. Or an additional 40% attack speed for Zerglings. Which makes them hit very, very hard. It's basically Stimpack for Lings. The Muta count is also quite big. 22 Mutas are capable of shutting down little groups, for example. Exactly. Great targeting here once again by Dark. Little groups of Marines and Mines. As long as your eyes are set on the right targets, they are manageable. 3-3 finishing up right here for Clem. Who's not really improving his economy very much. This is not a transition towards, like, what we normally see from Terrans. Mass command centers and turtling. I think Clem believes he's got this one in the bag. Or at the very least, he feels like he doesn't need to be playing that big eco game. This is getting to a position where I don't entirely agree with him. Ghost Academy coming up right now. That's going to be great against Ultras. Great against everything, actually, that the Zerg player has at this point, other than Ling Bane. Not even bad against Ling Bane. See, he doesn't have enough scans. He doesn't have scans to constantly be scanning here and getting rid of all of the creep. And as we all know, it's, according to Terran players, impossible for them, to go into a Raven. So we do have Zerg once again going into the choke point. He does have a couple Overseers here scouting ahead to try and see where those Widow Mines are located. Decides to manually blow up those mines. Nice splitties as well, though, by Clem, who keeps a lot of his units alive. Okay, that Widow Mine was not quite sniped in time. Yeah. Still, okay for Dark. I feel like this is going against all of the... You know when you first go to, like, Zerg elementary school, right? Like, the very first thing they will teach you is don't engage into choke points and try to set up surrounds. Right? That's basically Zerg 101. That's what you learn when you first get into your placement matches. I guess those are rules for thee, but not for me here, if you're Dark. He's pushing into choke points with the most vulnerable Zerg units. It hasn't gone horribly wrong yet. I mean, right now he's transitioning away from the mutas for the most part. He's setting up into an Ultra spot, which is kind of nice. Marines really do get destroyed by Ultralisk, but the ghosts are coming out. If you have no ghosts, suddenly those Ultras can catch you off guard and, well, sometimes win the game for Zerg. Clem, though, has decided to take it down a little bit slower as well. So he's made a few more SCVs. He's starting to add on additional command centers. I think Clem also is scratching his head a little bit. He's like, wait, I did all the right things, but my splash damage never really connected. Little run-bys all over the map. These are very ambitious Marines. Best in class, but now they're dead. Yeah, sucks to be them. All right, building armor coming up. We may very well see the high-stack auto-tracking tool, though. He's not a very wealthy Terran yet. So you can see that Clem is trying to change the pacing of the game a little bit. Original game plan to try and be hyper-aggressive. At least in the mid to late game. Not really working out all too well, so we're gonna try and win in another way. And the other way, apparently, is big eco. Cost efficiency for Zerg is usually not quite there with these unit comps, although so far it's honestly been quite okay. That means, though, that Dark gets full control of the map. Other than that little section at the bottom that Clem has occupied, Clem is going to scan the left side of the map. Dark is going to try and see if he can take half of his side of the map and maybe find some good run-bys. Obviously, Ultras are really good in run-bys too. They can chomp through a base very rapidly. There's the command center explosion. But here comes the swarm. Into a choke point, down a ramp. No surrounds. A couple of Zerglings are microed ahead of the rest of the army to try and mitigate some of that splash and try and get those Widow Mines to connect into some of the bio units. And I think this is maybe one of those games where the Widow Mines have been helping out the Zerg player as much as they have been helping out the Terran. Clem is now forced all the way back into the main base. He had to run so freaking far, and ultimately, there's no more room for him to run. This is such a dark game. In the meantime, there was a run-by. The drop in the top right-hand corner. It ended up getting sniped. Well, not the drop, that is. The hatchery over there itself and all of the drones. But now the Terran's main base is getting overwhelmed. GG. Wow. This is one of those games where strategically it may not make a whole lot of sense. But if your execution is good enough, maybe you need a little bit of luck as well. You can still make strategies that are outside the norm work. Excellent example right here from Dark. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on Alcyone. Keep in mind that Clem sort of forced Dark into that playstyle by delaying that third base for such a long time. So I don't think Dark originally was planning on playing Mass Muta. He's scouting right now for... He's scouting for proxies. Yeah, he was forced to play 2-base, and when you play 2-base, you really only have a handful of choices as the Zerg. So I think he decided, you know what, if this is what I gotta do, it's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. He could have gone for like a roach opener instead and just delayed the third hatchery for a little while. He could have just played something that looked a little bit more normal, but... Hydraling, or sorry, not even Hydraling Bane, Mutaling Bane into choke points. Yeah, if you're a Zerg player and you're inspired by that previous match, I wish you good luck. I say this as somebody who has played many games of Mutaling Bane back in the day, and I know that it does not go well. There's a reason why we rarely see Mutas these days, but apparently we're bringing it back. Not quite the flawless defense right there from Clem either, though, right? So even though he was trying to take the pace of the game down a notch, he may have taken it one step too far. I can imagine it's also one of those scenarios that Clem isn't really put in all too much. Like, how frequently do you really play against Mutas? And then, if you don't win with your first attacks, how frequently do you have to transition towards a slower paced game? Right? I think Clem got a little over-eager with that mid to late game transition. He started making a lot of command centers, but he wasn't really setting up the walls yet, right? He wasn't really setting up for example, Ultras. He didn't really have any Liberators or anything like that in the mix. He didn't have any supply depots. He didn't really have a great siege tank spread. So I think he got a little over-eager. If he was given another minute or two, he would have really been properly turtled up. So I think that's still... What? Okay, that's still a helpful loss right there for Clem, even though it feels a little rough. And even though that's a situation you can't really practice for all too often. Apparently now we're gonna go into a Cyclone build? Hellion run by over here too. I almost wonder if those Cyclones are a misclick, but there's no way. No, this is certainly on purpose. What are we doing with the Cyclones? Okay, Cyclones into Hellions again. Roach Warren starts up upon seeing this. Double gas taken right here as well for Dark. These gases are very quick. So this is most likely going to be an all-in from the Zerg. Now he's doing it against a 1-1-1 Terran. I'm hoping for Clem that he's going to do Banshees here. Okay, now he decides to fire up Stimpek. If Stimpek finishes, he's going to have a really good force. So this is a Roachborn, by the way, before Link Speed, which is what all... Link Speed is very late. Cyclones are putting in quite a bit of work. Yeah, he's gonna do a Link Flood. So this is indeed a Roach Push into a Link Flood, but Link Speed is not yet done. So I'm assuming Dark is gonna transition towards Liberators, he wishes. Ravagers and Zerglings here. But he's on a timer. As soon as Stimpek finishes up, life is gonna get much easier for Clem, assuming he has units to stim with. Right now he doesn't really have that many of them yet. Sorry about you, Jimmy. Your combat drugs are coming in the near future. Has Clem realized, though, that this is the follow-up? I don't think he has, because this is such a weird follow-up, too. Liberator, by the way, getting 4 confirmed kills. Here's the slow Link Flood. What are we looking at right now? Alright, well, Metabolic Boost is finishing. We don't have any Ravagers yet. Did he pull out of gas on a lot of these places? No, he did not. Alright. Yeah, oh, he had some morphing in. I was going to say, where did all the gas go? But he must have had some of them on the production tab. Stimpek is on the horizon. Bunker is coming up too. Clem not about to hit a supply block. I love the positioning of that siege tank, because that siege tank is going to need high ground vision for the biles to be landed on. SCV's pulled early here as well to continue repairing this. Nicely done by the Terran player. Takes about 7 biles to kill a bunker, and right now the bunker... biles are out of sync, yeah, so the SCVs can continue repairing this. 12 of them have gone down at this point. This is not a triple CC opener for Clem, so he can't really be losing too many of those workers. Bunker eventually falls, but I think Dark has already fallen as well. I mean, the counterattack here is going to hit like a truck. Oh, there is actually a third command center. I didn't see it. I was going to say, where is all the Terran economy in that case? Or all of the Terran army? No, it is a triple CC opener. That means that Dark is actually toast. He did not even kill remotely enough workers to justify this. Even if he killed all of these, he's still behind. Clem doesn't even really need to go and attack. He can just sit here. Yeah, I don't think he needs to go and attack. Okay, well, Dark knows it. GG is cold. That means that Clem gets a second point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on good old Oceanborn. I'm Oceanborn. You're Oceanborn. In the end, we are all Oceanborn. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, life began in the ocean. Maybe it'll end there too. Who knows? Maybe one day we will all be playing StarCraft at the bottom of the ocean. Probably not. But who knows? Anyways. Quality commentary is why you decide to watch me, right? Oh, that was almost as deep as the ocean. Yeah. What is the subreddit again? /r/I'm 13 and this is deep or something? And it's basically all these really cringy teenage quotes. Ooh, Clem actually saves the SCVs. Or the one SCV over here. The only downside here, yeah, he wants to make the orbital. Oh my god, dude, the SCV is actually being sacrificed so he can make an orbital command. Poor guy. Get out, Jimmy! You get out there and fight those Zerglings by yourself! But sir, I'm low, I'm low HP. Well, that orbital command wasn't gonna... The sad part is, right, it's that SCV is the one that actually built that command center. Yeah, there is very little honor in the Terran Dominion. Okay, well, this is not quite the start, I don't think, that Clem was hoping for. Losing 2 SCVs and then also a Reaper. Not the end of the world, of course, but still a little bit annoying for him. It is once more triple CC. We should be seeing some Banshee play here as well on the back of all of this. And it's up to Dark to try and do some aggressive pushes if he wants to Get this game over with quickly. He did make a second gas already. What's... Oh, really, Dark? So he's gone for link speed this time around. What is... Ah. Wait, we're going double Evo. This is an old school build. This is the build that Zerg players used to play in, like... I want to say, like, 2018, 2019 or so? So this is double upgrades with double gas before a lair. It should be melee together with Carapace and then into a lair, followed up with a Baneling Nest. It's still a decent build. It's just kind of dangerous against, like, say, for example, Hellbat all-ins. I guess Hellbat all-ins aren't very popular anymore these days. But it's fallen out of favor. Yeah, so it should be +1 with +1. Yep, there it is. And then layer into Baneling Nest on the back of this. It slows down your eco a little bit. So this is a... I'm sure it's still a viable build. Just a little bit more risky. Back in my day, this is what we used to play all the time. Alright, Grandpa Lowko. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is dangerous. If your queen positioning is not on point... Woo! That could have been an absolute disaster. You know what? It may still turn into one. 8 drones just like that. Kill on the 4th hatchery. I guess the problem, right, and one of the reasons why this sort of fell out of favor is that it snowballs really hard. You lose a couple drones here, you lose a hatchery there, and suddenly this hatchery is actually toast if he just targets it with the Banshee. He doesn't have any detection. He can't get detection because the lair is relatively late. Yeah, so it snowballs heavily in favor of Terran now. You are... I think technically, if everything goes perfectly well, you are capable of being in a pretty good spot as Zerg. But if anything goes wrong, life just becomes so difficult. Okay, so we should see another hatchery start up again really quickly though. Yeah. He's not gonna have enough larva. The thing is, this is full... Oh my god, he forgot the Baneling Nest as well. This is full Ling Bane. And when you have 3 base saturation, you just do not have enough larva generated on those 3 hatcheries to actually justify this build. Like, you can't make enough Ling Bane with that. You're always going to be flooding money. So your alternative is making a lot of queens, I guess, but that doesn't really work out all too well. In the meantime, Clem is going for a very conventional build. Honestly, he could go for a push here in a moment. I wouldn't mind it at all. Look at the worker counts right now. We're talking 43 drones versus 60 SCVs. I love the unsiege on the tank right there, so it wouldn't deal friendly fire. These guys are known to be traitors. Second factory already at the front. Oh, he gets another kill. Oh my god, really? Woo! This is one of those games where everything goes wrong. I think this is actually a perfect example of the snowball effect. So, Dark, he lost SCVs, or, well, Dark, he lost drones, he lost bases, he was late on his Baneling speed upgrade, and he realized that Clem was not slowed down in any way, shape, or form. And you know where those sort of games go, eventually, right? It might take another 5 minutes, it might take another 10 minutes, but Clem will not really be a player that will accidentally lose with an advantage like that. It's obviously still possible. I would have maybe liked to see Dark still attempt, like, I don't know, a quick Infestor transition, something like that, and maybe just try to go for a Lucky Fungal. I guess Lucky Fungals in 2024 are also not as good as they once used to be. Can't blame Dark for tapping out there, but I think it's a good example as to why some strategies are retired in 2024.